Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, with audio finally working today. Had to adjust some settings. We have some breaking news for you in regards to High King, when it is actually coming, and everything you need to know about that expectation and to plan accordingly. As always, before we get started, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you give us up because it helps out a lot. So let's first start and define when was High King supposed to be coming out. So based on the 0.25 announcement, you can see it says, Everlasting Realm, after the end of Season 1, this land will be preserved as the home realm, becoming the eternal home and starting point for players' conquests. Now, to Arrival of the King. In Season 1, the Alliance leader who successfully occupies the Flame Dragon will become the High King of the realm. Keep in mind, this says in Season 1. This is very important to note here. Now, if we venture over to the official Discord for the help channel, we will see where CoD CS responds and says, and keep in mind, right, we can take some of these with a grain of salt, but I think this adds up. After entering home realm and capturing the Flame Dragon on the home realm map, notice how there's a very clear distinction to double down on that, the leader of the Alliance will become the High King. So this basically means that instead of us thinking we were going to get it in Season 1, now you're going to get it during the home realm phase. Okay, well, when is the home realm phase going to hit? Well, that's going to happen at your end of season, once you get to the end of season timeline, which we can only surmise is probably going to end up happening for Season 1, and then we already know that for Season 2 and beyond. However, there's also something else to note up here. So CoD CS mentions this just before that post. The home realm map is generally, keyword generally, the Season 1 map, but there will be some adjustments. Now, we know one of the adjustments is that, again, they're adding in the High King. However, this almost speaks to potentially more adjustments that we just don't know yet. And this was not shown off in the official CoD video on their YouTube channel when they gave us a little bit of a preview glance of what the High King looks like, or the icon that's going to be north of the Dragon Lair, which is indicated by a flag that we ended up seeing. So what adjustments will those be? Will they be doing terrain adjustments, landscape adjustments, timing adjustments, Augerstone, etc.? We don't know. Now, we get to the next one, which is, okay, boss, well, when are we going to get our first look at home realm, right? When are we going to get the first opportunity to see when High King is going to come? Well, it's going to be in kingdoms at the moment, 289 through 292. Those currently have the fastest end-of-season timeline at the moment, which is estimated for home realm to open up on the 27th of May. So as of now, you can see here it's 11 and a half days away. Unfortunate that we have to wait that long. And then you also have the SB1, which is the Bellerin Season 1 Kingdoms 23, SB1 23, -23, -25, and 23, 24, and 25. So those three are the next ones, right? I think they're 3 days behind, right? So they're probably 14 and a half days right now. Also, if we end up, just for sake of argument, right, to show you guys, if we go to 333, which at the moment is the next batch of Season 1 Kingdoms, which is 333, 334, 335, and 336, those four, are going to be going into Season 2 next. Just to show you, because I did look earlier, so unless something has changed, it should be the same that lines up, is that there's no end-of-season timeline that has popped here in the top right corner. You can see that, right? So we're into 333. Nothing has popped. You can see Titan's Legacy is already done here. And now it's just a matter of waiting, right? They kind of got their end of season. So maybe it'll pop when this finishes in 6.5 days, or hopefully sooner. That is where we're at. And again, you could even see no specific mails have been sent, right? Just to kind of rule that out. Last one was a day ago on the migration system update announcement. So now we get to this thing of, well, boss, how should this be? Like, what is this really? What are our thoughts? So my thought is simply that, and I could show you kind of how this is going to be, right? So when you eventually get here, right, from what it showed, you're going to see, I think it's a flag either on this rock or it was somewhere around where the bones are, and you're going to be able to click that and it'll take you into that king interface. Now, the question becomes, when should we have access to High King in a season? For me, I have a very simple thought on this, and there's a number of reasons why I believe this, is that you should be able to access, because what is the High King? Let's define that first. The High King tools and interface is an opportunity, it's a way to organize, to structure, to disseminate information, to communicate appropriately, and to try to unify and bring the kingdom together in some capacity, right? In whatever shape and form it may take. And when you do these things, typically, players are more likely to stay in a kingdom that is well ran versus one that is not. And when you are able to communicate with the players in said kingdoms, especially if you're doing it in a healthy and educational and informative, a development way, these are things that can lower player drop-off, lower attrition, keep players more engaged, have people more interested in socializing, more invested, and are willing to be, at times, more motivated. And all of those bleed from, or feed off of, I should say, in a large part, being able to have ways of informing everyone of what's going on. And keep in mind, right, players don't know what they don't know. You know, how many people are starting a kingdom builder for the first time, they get into a season, and they just are not aware of, like, what's really going on. I can't tell you how many players that I've seen that come into kingdom builder games, and they just are high mid-spenders, and they've never played a game before, or they just don't have a good understanding, a full understanding of how a Season 1 map works versus a KVK map, or just what is even beyond the current map that they're playing. And of course, this doesn't mean that everyone is. But when I have come into contact with some, this can drastically affect how a kingdom plays out versus anyone, for that matter, on what their understanding is, on how much they know, on what they don't know, on assumptions they may make. And being able, just in this one scope of addressing, is that you can do these things. You can kind of get a grasp on situations, and more than that, as we've already alluded to, from being able to have access to the king system, High King, earlier rather than later. And so my thing is, I would just like for them to be able to have access to it in Season 1, not once Home Realm comes, but in Season 1, and once Dragon Behemoth becomes available. And then whoever captures it there will just go ahead and have it. And then you'll be able to access it right away. Because keep in mind, a Season 1 lasts about 75 days, and then you're talking 14 days, right, from what we've seen, or 16 days, I think it was 13 days, from what we saw in S2, right? So you're averaging 2 more weeks that you're going to spend there. Now you're getting to 89 days from 75. Right now you're edging more towards 3 months, maybe 3 months plus, before you get access to this, when you could potentially have it around day 50, right, give or take, depending on when, I don't think it's Unscarred, I'm forgetting what the chapter name is in Argerstone, that unlocks Dragon 12 hours after it finishes. But you get my point. It's like the difference between being able to access it a month earlier versus a month later. There's just a lot more pros than there are cons, and a lot more benefits, especially if the game wants to try and keep players engaged and playing, and you want to have another layer of reducing player drop-off and attrition from your game as a developer. This is something that I truly believe has greater rewards if you can access it sooner rather than later. So those are my thoughts. Of course, I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about the situation right now that you hopefully know what's going on with the High King? And then on top of that, when do you think High King should be available? Do you think it should be available the moment that you capture Dragon? Or are you okay with waiting potentially 3 months or so until the home realm pops, and then, or you go in there, right, with any potential map adjustments, and then you're able to capture? But keep in mind, the one thing we do know is that for Season 1 kingdoms, I should say the one thing that we're unsure of more specifically is, will your territory reset, even though we believe it won't, and it's only going to be reset for Season 2 and beyond? But you still, at that point, will you have to recapture Dragon? Will whoever holds Dragon just end up being the High King when they come back? Like, there's obviously a couple unanswered questions. But let me know what you guys think. Whether you agree or disagree, would love to hear your thoughts in those comments down below. That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I'll catch y'all later.